good to see everyone here this evening. Well, I think most of you know the theme for tonight's program is gold decorations. That would include gold-filled etchings, gold trim, gold overlays. So Les Hansen is going to lead us off with that this evening. And Julie, I'll come back at the end to promote what we're doing in May.
Okay, thank you. All right, I will let Les take it away.
You've muted everybody?
I'm going to do that right now.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready to go.
Okay. Well, it's good to see everyone. We're up to 24 participants with the weather getting nice. I expect numbers could go down a little bit, but it looks like we're going to have about our normal attendance again this month. So I thought it would be good to start out with a few definitions because the presentation of the 7 types of gold decorations from Cambridge won't take too long. Because I have sensed on occasion with some people in the group, they're kind of hesitant with some of the words that they use, like they're almost concerned they might not be using the right word. So let's start with decorates. Decorates or decorations. We can use either. They're the same thing. And really they are decorations, but for some reason, Cambridge referred to them as decorates, as a noun. And if you go to a dictionary, you're not going to find decorates as a noun. So it was kind of a specialized word that the Cambridge factory used. Maybe other companies did as well. It wouldn't surprise me if they did. But it's okay to use either word, decorates or decorations. They're equal. Another one that sometimes I think people wonder about is cutting and engraving. So here I have a little 2-ounce sherry wine that's got a cutting on it. But you can say engraving too. So I don't think there's much doubt the industry used the word cutting, and probably in the Cambridge factory, they used cutting. And I think most glass dealers say cutting, but actually Cambridge and most of their catalogs and promotional materials use the word engraving, but it's the same thing. So feel free to use either cutting or engraving when we're talking about Cambridge glass. This cutting happens to be called Concord on this small piece, and maybe that's a little easier to see it right there. Intricate cutting. Well, then the next one, and really the last one, is etching. And this is the one that I think we've gotten a little lax. The word is etching, or something can be etched. It's not just etch. And the plural is etchings, not etches. And I've even noticed the last crystal ball that this has been popping up. And then the other one, the catalog for the auction, to save space and to make things tighter, they just used etched 742 or etch Gloria. Well, it should be etched, ED at the end, or an etching. Just a couple things are there in definition. Technically, something is etched or it's an etching. So with that, let's move into the decorations or decorates that Cambridge used that employed gold. So decorates can either be a metal or enamel, and Cambridge did a lot of both. As far as the metals, we're going to talk about gold tonight, but other metals that could be used are silver, platinum, or white gold. And for a period, Cambridge did some silver colored and things that they promoted as silver, but to this day, I don't think we know what it was. I think Lynn Welker believes it's white gold. It may be platinum. And it's really funny that through all these years that we really haven't been able to find anything from the factory that would document what metal was used for those decorates. So with that background, let's move on to gold. And gold by Cambridge was 22 karat gold. And I think many of you are aware that pure gold is 24 karat. So 22 karat gold was very high percentage gold. And I think we've heard the stories that in the factory, they guarded it very carefully So it was in a liquid form, and the bottle was weighed when the worker got it, and it was weighed again when they returned it. So if you're using gold as a decorate, there probably was, quality concerns as far as making sure it didn't disappear, like maybe some other pieces we've heard or things that disappeared from the factory. So they really guarded the gold. So we will start with gold encrustation. So I've got an example here that should show pretty good. It's on an ebony blank. The etching that was done on ebony was Imperial Hunt, and then it was filled with gold within that etching. And the gold, after it was applied, was polished to really make it bright. Okay, so this is gold encrustation, and my guess is we're going to see some fantastic pieces of gold incrustation in your collections as we move forward. Another example, there was quite a bit of gold incrustation done on Crown Tuscan. This happens to be a nude candlestick, and the gold incrustation is rose point. So incrustation, yes, it's incrustation when it's an etching that's filled with a metal or enamel. Moving on, so that's the first type, gold incrustation. Next is gold transfer. So I've got a piece here that's a cordial, and if I can get it to show, yeah, so this decorate should be probably familiar to many of you. It pops up on 3500 or Gadroon line, drinking vessels in particular, and also some other items. I don't know. Some people have called this silk screen. I'm not sure why it's called silk screen, but clearly it's a transfer. So there was kind of like an etching plate that was a decorate that this design was on, and then the process was to transfer that design with gold to a piece of glass. And of course, all of these, the gold was fired on as well before it was polished. This is another gold transfer, and I just got this piece. It's a cigarette box. This is just the lid. It came with two little ashtrays as well. And this was just on eBay recently, and I didn't pay very much for it at all. This design is called Wood Lily. It's from the reopen period. And I think these gold transfers, the crispness and sharpness is pretty incredible when you think about the process of having some type of tissue that you apply to that decorate plate and then transfer the gold to the glass. It's pretty incredible, the quality of the craftsmanship that they were able to do with gold transfer. So the next one we'll talk about is just gold edge, and that kind of explains itself. So like on this cordial that I showed earlier, there's a gold trim on the top, around the top edge, and also on the foot. And to do this, the item was placed on a turntable, and they had the brush, and they just rotated it so it was nice and even. So that's gold edge. Many stemware items that were etched just had the applied gold edge put on the top and the bottom of the drinking vessel. So that's gold edge. Obviously, that was also done in the bottom on the outside of this nude candlestick as well, because they just set it on the turntable to apply that gold edge. The next one, so we're up to number 4 types of gold decoration, is gold band. So this is Pomona green, 2 ounce, what did they call it? Wine, 2 ounce wine. And it's got the most common band decoration that you'll find on Pomona green. It's a rose in that band. So really, it's just another gold incrustation that's because it was first etched and then it was filled in with the gold incrustation. So that would be number 4. Number 5, as far as gold decorations, is gold spatter. So this is a jade perfume. And I think here you can see that the speckles all over it. And I'm not sure about how they did this. It's just like they threw it at the item, but I'm sure that there was an automatic process to put that spatter on the item. And this is most common on the opaques. There in the 1920s. Move on to number 6, as far as gold decorations, is stippled. And so this swan, yeah, it's going to show. You can see here how that was kind of brushed on with the rough edges that are kind of feathered. And here on the sides, on the wings, that's stippling. So you can understand it's not like there's a clean line. There's kind of a feathering effect that goes on along the edge. Another example of that, going back to the Crown Tuscan nude candlestick, the top. Yep, there, I think you can see it. It's not smooth. It's kind of got that feathered edge. So that's stippling as far as a gold treatment. And then the last one is gold freehand, which means they just applied it by hand. And there are different pieces that were like gold encrusted, but then bases and things were filled in by hand, freehand. So this swan has got freehand gold decoration that's on it. It was not done as transfer. It was not encrusted. It's just applied afterwards, likely with a brush. And if you look at some of the edges here, you can see it's not perfect. So it was hand applied. And so there's a fair number of pieces that had supplemental areas that were filled in by hand with this freehand application of 22 karat gold. So that's the background information I have. Let's see what everybody's got, Julie.
Okay, thank you very much, Les. I have a couple of questions though.
Sure.
So on the gold incrustation, how do they make it so neat? Because obviously, you know, there's a lot of very delicateness to the etchings and that they had to be filled. So was there a process where, tell us a little bit about the process. Wasn't there a wax and then it was dipped and then the wax was taken off? Or, you know, a lot of people don't know how that was really done so neatly and tidy.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to answer that one. Maybe somebody else in the group can answer that for us, Julie, but there was no waxing or anything that I'm aware of with gold incrustation. What was etched was filled in.
Okay.
So it was applied, I'm assuming by hand, by the decorators. So again, my assumption would be, but I might be wrong, that it was like a brush technique, that incrustation was filled in.
Okay.
That answers that one, but maybe somebody else in the group knows more than I do.
Okay. Then my other question is that on a lot of the Martha pieces, I call it gold drippy edge because it's really not stippled as nice. It just kind of looks like it's dripped along the edge. Is that still called stippling?
As far as I know, that's also stippling. Yes, and I didn't have a piece of that to show.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right, Les and Julie. That actually the stippling originated on the Gadroon line, the 3500 line first, because it didn't have a nice clean edge. And then, as Les pointed out, they added it to certain pieces like the Crown Tuscan candlesticks on the top and everything. When the Martha line came out, then they also used it extensively on that line because Martha didn't have that nice clean edge. So they did some pieces, they didn't do as great a job on stippling, that brushing technique that they use on the Gadroon line, but it was still called stippling. So
Okay. Thank you. Then my other question is, when you talked about the gold spatter, it almost looks like it could have been applied by a sponge. What do you think of that thought? Because, you know, today we have sponge painting. You just kind of sponge it on. It almost kind of looks like that.
I tend to agree with you that there's a good chance that they may have used a sponge for the application. Yeah. But I don't happen to know for sure on that one. I haven't seen any documentation on it.
Okay, those are my questions. And it's always, I always want to get a feel for maybe how things were done at the factory. And obviously, unfortunately, we don't have all of that at our knowledge right at our fingertips. So it's always kind of good to speculate how it was done. So with
Julie,
that,
can I ask a question about the gold applications? Which ones would be the most long lasting and not wear off? Because I see some of the ones that were done by Charlton that have the gold, I guess you'd call it stippling, and the gold wears off. So which technique would be the most durable?
Yeah, so I know what you mean about the Charlton for sure. I mean, I
Yeah.
think we all do that it isn't as durable once it's been applied to the glass, comes off easier. Now, there could be a couple different reasons for that. Again, the gold needed to be fired on. So the length of the firing or the strength of the firing. And then the other thing, we don't really know, or I don't know, and I didn't research this on Charlton, but maybe it wasn't 22 karat gold either. So there could be different things there. I do have the Charlton book, and I'm sure some of you do. There might be something about that in that Charlton book. But I agree with you that the Charlton, the gold isn't nearly as durable. Obviously, if something's gold encrusted, if that gold is going down into the etching, it's
Yeah.
going to be more durable than if it's just applied to the surface. And I think
Is the
we've all
stippling
seen,
durable?
it's about the same as the others, because it's
Okay.
just been fired on, it's been applied, and then it's been
Okay.
fired on. It's not within an etching. And I think we've all seen pieces of gold incrustation where the gold in the incrustation is very good, but the trim has worn off.
Yeah.
Especially
Okay.
along the edges, which is really disappointing. And you have to be careful when you're buying glass, especially on photos, to check those edges because they often the comment, well, the incrustation is perfect, but there's a bit of gold loss otherwise. Well, then you have to check and see the extent of that loss.
Thank you.
yeah, great question. Wonderful. So with that, I think all of us are very excited to see. Someone is the firing different between encrustation and enameling?
Well, that's a good question. They were both fired on. I don't know if there was a different temperature or length of time. I haven't seen that anywhere in any documentation, but it would make sense that there could be some difference, but I don't know for sure. But they both needed to be fired on, right, and were fired on, so they didn't easily come off.
Okay. Well, thank you. And thank you for that question. So with that, I think we're going to move on and see what spectacular pieces await us. So I'm going to go in the order in which I've received everyone's emails. So we are going to start with Gwinnell first, and we will put Philip on deck.
Oh, wow. I thought I was running in late. I wasn't sure. I'm going to start with Caprice, which is pretty popular, which you know me. And it is the Hampton Gold by Silver City. You see that?
Yes. Was that the one that had the happy anniversary, like 50th anniversary, 25th?
It was added to just about any of them.
Okay.
And Gwinnell, is that fairly durable?
It seems to be. I don't see much missing off of it. And I don't use it a whole lot, if any, right now, but it's the way I found it. It was in really good shape when I found it. And then the kind of different from Decris is applied by another company. It's the Ormolu. I think we've seen this before, the Caprice vase. And it's the gold. And going to Crown Tuscan, the Portia gold incrustation on the 3400. And the Gadroon or the What is that, the 3400? With the Valencia. Which is confused with Minerva. But that's the Valencia. And then I'm going to switch off of Cambridge and go to Duncan Miller. And this is their Terrace Creamer. With the gold trim, banding trim. And on the red as well. I think this was done by Lotus.
That's got all three, Gwinnell. It's got band, it's got the edge, and it's got the freehand.
Yeah, that's neat too. Cool. And the last one is the newest one I got. And it's Imperial. And it's got the gold trim. It's got a very small banding around. And it's got enameling on both pieces as well as on the tray. And one thing that we noticed Saturday when I picked it up is that the enameling is on the inside to where most everything else is on the outside. The gold is on the out, but the enameling's on the inside, which was kind of different. But that's Imperial Molly. And that's what I decided to share for gold tonight.
Well, thank you. I love the ormolues. They're some of my favorite. And so I always just find them so ornate and just so interesting. And it always made me curious of how they got them into the ormolu to begin with, or to, you know, how they got them out of the ormolu. But it's always interesting to see the different types of ormolus. And it's very curious too, why you would see the decorate on the inside of the creamer, the enameling, rather than the outside, knowing that the inside would most likely be filled with, you know, contents.
The Caprice bowl is on the inside.
Oh, that's
I've got
true.
a dark blue, a royal blue by New Martinsville, and it's got enameling on it, but the enameling's on the outside. But with it being dark, you wouldn't see it on the inside. So I wonder if that made a difference. But it was light on both sides.
Well, thank you for sharing. And like Les said, you got the trifecta on the one piece. It's
That's
perfect.
cool. I have to make a note of that.
Yeah, the trifecta. Okay, next we have Philip, and then we will have Tim and Nancy.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. Well, the first one I'm going to show you is Crown Tuscan. All of it is Crown Tuscan, actually. But this is my centerpiece bowl. And I guess that's freehand. Would you call that freehand on the outside?
Philip, that's probably a transfer.
I don't know. It's darn near perfect. I know
Yeah,
that.
that's why I think it would have to be a transfer. What they applied on the feet would be freehand.
Okay. And then, of course, it's got the Porsche etching on the inside. And, of course, got to have it signed. That's my centerpiece bowl. And here's my two candlesticks that go on the other side, on each side of it. So once again, Porsche. And they're signed also. And sticking with the Porsche theme, my 10-inch urn base. A little bit of gold missing on the feet. But as far as the lid goes, it's, I don't know if you guys can see it very well, but it's darn near perfect. And once again,
like Jack said, that's, you know, that's a gridoon. So that's the stippling around the edge there on top.
all right, good. Got her signed also. And this one here is the one that seems to be hard to find. I've got a candy dish, Crown Tuscan, of course. You've got the gold around there, but it's got that blue paint that a while back you guys were mentioning is pretty hard to find. So we've got that. Open up the inside. Once again, they've got the little decoration on the inside also.
Now, Philip, that was done by Charlton. That's Blue Mist.
Blue mist, that's the word. But I just like how they've got all the gold around everything. It's just a cool piece.
Most of us love Blue Mist.
Mhm.
That's first piece of that I've ever seen. So other than on here. So, but I got lucky and that's all I got.
Well, beautiful pieces, and all of us are envious of the blue mist. The gold just does set it off tremendously. So just such a nice decorate on that decoration on the candy dish. So it comes in so many variations too. So thank you so much for sharing. And I didn't realize you got all that little lovely collection behind you. That's all Crown Tuscan as well. So we're
like my
admiring
crown.
that from afar too.
I'm proud of Crown Tuscan.
Yes, I see. You got a lovely collection. So next, let's go to Tim, and we will put Jeff on deck.
Well, hi, everybody.
Mute.
I unmuted. Can you see me?
We can.
Okay. Well, mine is not showing up the top. It's just really, really narrow to where I'm sitting on the screen. So this is not going to work real well. We have gold encrusted Diane on Carmen. This is a cracker and cheese platter. There's the platter.
Mm.
And everybody that was at the auction, I was able to show and tell this piece also. Light emerald green, satin, Everglade vase with the different lid or the opening. There we go. Now, Les, is this an enamel or is this gold?
I think it's gold and it would be freehand, so it would have taken a lot of effort to apply that gold. And I'm not 100% sure it was done by Cambridge. It may have been, or it could have been Lotus as well. But
Okay.
it's gorgeous either way. And it looks like it's perfect, the gold.
It's in really good shape. This one, ebony, dancing lady. Wonder why when I'm showing this up at the top of our screen, you know, it's like when I'm watching everybody else, I'm still up there. I'm not coming up to where I can actually see myself. But is there something I can do, Julie, to
Change your view to speaker.
do what?
Change your view to speaker. There's a little view box that is at the top of the band at the top. It'll say view. And click that, and I will say speaker, gallery, immersive. If you change it to speaker, you'll come up better. You'll be full screen.
It doesn't work that way in all versions, though.
Oh.
It doesn't work for me either. I'm always up in the corner.
It's not for me either.
Okay.
Yeah, I never can get it to work.
All right. Well, then the next one, this is a new piece for me. I just found this just recently. It was on a Cambridge site, and it is a beautiful amber gold encrusted. I don't know the name of that pattern, but
Classic.
classic. Well, it is a classic, and it's actually has the my mind went blank what they call that. It's got the ribbing, you know, the what do they call it?
Optic.
Oh, there you go, optic. And last but not least, this one was an internet find, and it was actually this is the Nautilus vase, and it's Portia, gold encrusted Portia, and it was a timed auction, and I was able to get several pieces bought. This is just perfect, and it was like next to nothing. So I was like, woohoo! And and it is signed on the bottom. And the gold is just perfect on that vase. And that's all I have tonight.
Well, thank you. Beautiful pieces. I love the dancing ladies, obviously, and obviously the classic. I think you're looking pretty much toward our theme for convention, which is the Roaring 20s, because those pieces definitely remind me of the Roaring 20s. So just the patterns and the decorates. So beautiful pieces, and obviously the piece of Everglades that you have is outstanding. So very, very nice. And of course, we'll all want to know the auction site where you got everything so cheap. Are you sharing it? If so, you can put it in the chat box. I don't hear you saying yes.
Well, there was 2 auctions. The first one we all missed. I found out about it. I got on the second one. I shared that information with several people, and actually the museum even found out about it, and they were letting people know, but it was called the Joe Glass auction. It was out by Kansas City. And that second sale, there was a lot of Cambridge glass on there, and it didn't bring much. And there's supposed to be another one, but there's nothing posted up. The lady that was involved with the auctioneer ended up in the hospital, and she was in a wheelchair, and they may be postponing that sale. I don't know, but there's another one coming, but I don't know anything more about it than that.
Well, thank you for sharing with your friends here on Zoom. We
Yes.
appreciate it very
Yes.
much.
Thank you.
And maybe just another point, that gorgeous cheese and cracker
Oh, yes, thank you.
that Tim and Nancy showed, the gold incrustation on either Carmen or Royal Blue, for the people that don't know, really sells for a premium, very high value. So a Carmen gold encrusted with, mint gold on it, you're really talking prices that jack up, often $500 or more. It's gold incrustation. Portia and Diane in particular are just top, like your beautiful cheese and cracker.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that reminder, Les, because it was outstanding. So thank you so much for sharing. We appreciate everything that you bring each and every month. So next we're moving on to Jeff, and we will put Mary and Jeff on deck.
Good evening, everybody. That Carmen gold encrusted must be an East Coast thing, because I have never come across any of it over here. They must all stayed out there somewheres.
Jeff, where Mary Martha Mitchell, who was Cindy Arndt's aunt, said that they shipped a tremendous amount of gold encrusted Carmen to Argentina.
Oh, wow.
And also,
I don't plan on going there.
A lot of the gold encrusted items, and I know Lynn Welker has spoke of this often, went to California, to department stores in California. So I'm sure Jim and Janice are scooping it up out in California right now.
Sounds like a trip. Anyway, my first one, thanks Les, by the way, is my gold encrusted Elaine tall sherbet. I have a set of 6 of these. And my gold encrusted Elaine bonbon, I guess you'd probably call it, which is really like, I haven't got a lot of gold, but those pieces are pretty cool. And does this qualify as gold? This little paperweight.
Gold, that wasn't made by Cambridge, of course. I think that was made by Mosser.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, but it's cool. And my azurite ball, not sure what they call it, with the little gold decoration on the handle. And the gold is a little wore on this piece, but still, it's what I found. That's about all I got. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And of course, Elaine is always very pretty, and I'm sure we may see some more in the future. But I believe, Jeff, didn't you say you're gonna bring it come June, come out to the convention?
I'm sure hoping to be there.
I think you'll see some more gold encrusted out there when you come and visit us.
Oh, that would
So
be
I hope
good.
you've got an extra suitcase that's going to be your carry-on so you can pack.
I might have to.
I think so. Come prepared.
We'll have to see how things go.
Okay, sounds
All
great.
right, thanks.
Thank you for sharing so much. Appreciate that very much. Next,
Yep.
we have Mary and Jeff, and then we'll have Jack on deck.
Okay. First thing that we'll show is this little candlelight cordial. This is the only cordial that we have in candlelight and the only gold encrusted. But I just can't imagine setting a table with this and serving. It just was so elegant. I just love the pattern, the etch. Going to the next, I guess we'll go on by size. This is azurite stick base. It's kind of a tall one, but I think this has the Egyptian etch on it. Let's see if I can. I don't know if you can see this very well. It's pretty small to look at, but I believe that's what it is. And just was going through boxes the other day and forgot that this was gold encrusted. So I thought, oh, perfect for tonight's theme. And then this was a fairly recent find. This is gold encrusted Gloria, this little 4-footed pink or La Rosa or whatever, pink 4-toed bowl.
Peach blow.
Peach bowl.
Peach blow.
I didn't look it up, but I just thought it's really pretty. It really, the gold and the pink go together nicely. And of course, we love Crown Tuscan, and I think this was from David. I think we brought this from David at the show a couple of years ago in the Crown Tuscan Portia keyhole vase, and I just love this shape. And of course, the Crown Tuscan, and it is signed, of course. And then ebony blossom time etch candy, covered candy. Let's see if I can. The lid is a little bit loose on it, so it's kind of funny. The gold has some wear on the legs, but the top is in really nice shape. And I just thought the gold and the black, the ebony looked so nice together. And then the last piece we had was this rose point bowl. Like the shape of it. I just think it's really neat. This does have some wear on the bottom of the bowl, but the edges are in nice shape. And the edge and the gold on the outside is in really a nice shape. It's just really kind of at the bottom, but the gold kind of wore on it. And that's what we have tonight.
Oh, very pretty, very pretty. And I'm like you. I love the candlelight. My dad collects that pattern. I do know one of our members has a lot of his candlelight in golden crusted. So it's beautiful when he sets his table. I'm very jealous of what Jonathan puts together. But the cordial is just adorable. And I'm with you. Favorite shape of all of the Crown Tuscan is that particular keyhole vase. Love it. So
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing so much. Next is Jack and Elaine, and then we will have Jim and Janice on deck.
Okay, thank you, Julie. I am not moving very well, so I'm going to just show some pictures. I hope, apologize for that, but hard for me to get glass. So I'm going to try to share screen here. You need to allow me to share screen.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
There you are.
Yeah. Can everybody see that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I just got a few things I'm gonna kind of go in a little chronological order, but pretty close. But this is the large Rubina Sweet Peat vase in Rubina. and it is etched rose. And there were two variants of this etching. This is variant number 2, which is the one you usually see. Very rarely do you see number 1. Again, this was a mid-1920s etching and beyond a little bit. But it's something that you rarely see gold, yellow gold on Rubina. So this was really a nice piece that we were able to add to the collection. So. Second piece, this is the 472 oval salad plate, light emerald, and this is etched mahjong tiles and then gold encrusted. This was an interesting, really interesting story behind this etch. I don't know, some of you may, I did a program on mahjong tiles for Miami Valley here, I think it was last year. But it was mahjong tile was introduced in about 1924, and we know this through the trade journals because there are no catalog images or anything regarding that, because it was definitely a very, very short-lived etch production. And of course, mahjong tile in 1924 was just exploded as the rage game across the country. Very short-lived again because it was replaced by the bridge card game, became very, very popular, although mahjong's popularity still remains even today as a very popular game. So, but if you find one of these in your collection, it's or to add to your collection, it's a very rare find because there's very few pieces known today. Some pieces, the actual full etch has 7 items or 7 elements to it. On this plate, you see 3 and then the 4 squares. So they only used part of it. And most pieces, they only use part of it. Very few have we seen that they use the full complement of it. So.
And Jack, I'm going to say, comment again, it's etching, not etched.
Etching, sorry, I'm the worst offender to that. So I'll try to be better. The next piece is this was the 976 Cambridge glass advertising sign tray. We call them change trays. It's actually has the willow etching around the border, and completely was not, you wouldn't call this gold encrusted, you would call it a gold band overlay, since it's complete gold all covering it, the whole thing. It's funny because you don't see these weren't sold to the public. They were, I don't know if they were sold or given to dealers, but they're not easy to find, except 2 of them just came up recently, and one of them in very nice condition. The other one, not quite as good condition, is still up for sale. But it's this one that we were able to acquire many, many, many years ago is fairly nearly mint condition. So that was a nice piece. This is the number 411 fan vase in light emerald. It's gyro optic, and it's etched Dresden rose and then gold encrusted. This is a mid to late 1920s piece when this came out. So, another kind of a neat piece, a little bit unusual. This is the 628 candlestick in peach blow, but it has a what we call, I don't know, people different. Miami Valley took all the non-cataloged etchings and gave them numbers. So we call this one UE7, meaning unidentified etching number 7. But we really don't know what it is. We know it's Cambridge. It was discovered along with a whole bunch of etching plates when Imperial closed, because Imperial acquired all the Cambridge, of course, stuff when Cambridge closed. So, but this one's, you can find this in a number of pieces. This has, we call it the cherub etching because it's got a little cherub right there in the base. It's actually upside down in this picture. And it is, that's the way it is. If you look at it head on, they're all upside down. But you can find this in a number of pieces and some plates and mayonnaise sets, etc. So, but I always thought that was a pretty cool decorate. The last thing I wanted to get to, this is, I've always had fun with this, but this is the Ram's Head candlestick. And I did a program or did an article on this in the September Crystal Ball, like 2015. And this came in 3 versions. So this is etched Elaine. This is the Ram's Head. This is version 1, and it was actually a 3,500 piece, introduced in 33. But it has the big ram's head in the middle, and then it has the ram's heads on each side of the candle cups, on each one of those. This must not have been a very popular seller at all, because it did not last long. I think they didn't like the actual ram's head in the middle. But so they're difficult to find, particularly gold encrusted. But they really did a nice job with the gold on the ram's heads, etc. And they even put the little gold on the candle cup ones too as well. So after a year or so, they changed it to this version. And you see they took the ram's head out of the middle and they put a cornucopia on it. And collectors will call this cornucopia ram's head, but it's the same number. This is actually a candelabra version. They left the little ram's heads on the candle cups, but they changed the cornucopia in the middle, and that's really the only thing these did. And these sold much better. So it must have been people just didn't like that ram's head in the middle. And if they were marketed primarily to females, it probably was why. So very difficult to find gold encrusted Beaubouchers in any etch. But in particularly Lane ones. So these were, I got one little story because this is the last things we're showing. But this is one of those classic stories of, we bought, this was a long time ago, probably 20 years ago. And well, probably 15 actually, but we bought this large collection of gold encrusted Elaine out of Paris, Texas. And there's a Paris, Texas, and Gwinnell knows where that is. That's northeast of Dallas up there. And but primarily we wanted to get, it had a bunch of stemware, but it had a set pair of these gold encrusted ram's head candelabras. Never seen them before. And by the way, I've never seen one since. We got home and it was said it was delivered, and we saw this box, a single box on the back porch where the thing, we were going, oh, they must have delivered it in parts. And here they put everything together. The only thing that separated it was little thin paper and little pieces of thin paper board, not even any cardboard, no bubble wrap, no peanuts, no nothing. Half the whole collection was shattered. And one of these candelabras was completely shattered. So we only ended up with one. Actually, the Beaubouchers were salvageable. So we still have 2 extra gold encrusted Elaine Beaubouchers. So if anybody, you find the bottom part, we're still looking for it. And then the last thing is the version 3 of that candlestick. And again, it has the cornucopia in the middle. The easiest way to tell the difference of the version 3 is that you can see the cross hatching on the arms. And they did that in 1938. So the first version was 33 to 34. The second version was 34 to 38. And this version was 38 through the middle 1940s. And then the ram's heads were out of the picture by then. So, but they still kept the little ram's heads on the candle cup, and they did a nice job with all the gold on through that. So, and that's what I got. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jack. So many interesting pieces. And I love the change tray. I have one myself. It's one of my favorite pieces. Again, I saw a couple come up recently too, so those are nice, but just interesting pieces that you have. And of course, it's always nice to see the different versions of like a candlestick, or how there are some small differences in a piece from, a few years earlier, then 5 years later, they changed something else. And then 5 years later, they changed something else. And I think it just shows the innovation that Cambridge had over time to keep collectors very interested and to keep them saying, I need this piece to come with my collection. So again, thank you so much for sharing. Lots of beautiful colors. And of course, the Rubina was very interesting. And it was interesting on the cherub. I think it has elements of Chantilly in it based on kind of like the swirl design. I'm going to have to go back into the etchings book and actually look at that a little more carefully. But it looks like it has some elements either of candlelight or Chantilly in that particular piece.
We don't know exactly when that was produced, although just based on the blanks, I think it was probably introduced sometime late 1920s and then into the 1930s, because it's shown on 3,400 pieces, which would have mean, early 1930s, and then that was it. So that's about all we really know, if that. So
is that etching in the etchings book?
It's in the non-catalog etchings book.
Okay, thank you. I'll look at it. Thank you very much. Yeah. So again, thank you for sharing. It's always wonderful to see the pieces that you have and you share with us. Much appreciated. Next, we'll go to Janice and Jim, and we'll put Lyle on deck.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, apple blossom is my thing. So I'm just going to show you just a few things. And can you see that?
Yes.
Yes. This is gold crystal with the gold decoration. And they often just did the shield and not the flowers.
Can you hold it back just a shade closer to you? And I think we'll see more of it. Oh, perfect.
Perfect. Okay, great. All right. So you see the shield is done, but not the flowers. So,
all rimmed and handled.
Rim and handles. So this is blossom time. And it's in such perfect condition, I decided to show it to you. So it's almost as if it was never used. Really pretty. Can you see it?
Yes, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. And my pride and joy is
back up a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
It's a royal blue. And now the shield is the gold, but the flowers are not. And the stopper has gold. And David found this for me, and I love it.
Hold it back just a little bit more so we can get all of its splendor.
Okay, how's that?
Oh, yes, that's very good.
Yeah.
It's absolutely spectacular.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, David. And that's all I'm going to show tonight.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I think it's so interesting that you only have the shields that are gilded and the rest are not. So very interesting. And Blossom Time is one of those patterns. I call it a sleeper pattern for some reason. Not a lot of people collect it, but it's a beautiful pattern. And I really like it when it's gold encrusted. It comes in ebony, gold encrusted, like we saw earlier in the candy dish. Yes. It just seems to be one of those patterns that was not really collected a lot for some reason. I just don't know why. But thank you for sharing. Absolutely beautiful decanter. Love it. So next we're going to go to Lyle, and we will have David on deck.
First thing, I have to tell Nancy to get Tim off the floor when he looks at this. It's not one of the girls. It's a little perfume set. And they were kind of sparing with the gold around the lips and the rings and that sort of thing. And the banding, I think, had it at one time, but there's not much of it left. It was a well-used set, but it's still pretty. But this is part of Linda Lou's collection, so that's why they're here, Tim. And these you might remember less. These are the gold leaf sets. I'm sure it's a Charlton. Absolutely gorgeous. They are just covered in gold and stripes and dustings and just having a good time. I think there was probably someone who had an interest in a gold mine in the Charlton group. This is
And that-
number
And
816.
Lyle, that combines enamel and gold.
Yeah, it's all in there. Yeah. And of course, I'm going to let her see this, but she saw it anyway. The matching powder box. That was a nice piece. Very nicely done. Lots of gold on the handle, lots of gold on the face and the enamel rings. It's just kind of a tour de force. Okay, Tim, this is for you. This is one of my girls, and she's in Crown Tuscan, which is the only reason I bought it. It's a gorgeous Crown Tuscan, but it's etched in Portia, and it was a diminutive job. I mean, they didn't splash gold all over her like Charlton does, and it's kind of a subtle, if you will, golding. Very nicely done. We had a heck of a time getting the sticker off the bottom of that one. This is, of course, Charlton's tour de force. This one in particular I found because all the gold in her hair, they really were impressed with the hair and her feet and her towel. And the candle cup is also striped with it. It's a lovely Charlton rose on the base. Still got her mark on it.
And they're very hard to find, Lyle.
In good
Nudes with
shape,
the
yeah.
Charlton
I
roses,
was
yeah.
real tickled with the condition. Even though there's a lot on her, it seems to be all there yet, which is kind of nice. And then I have something that I've been told is pretty rare. I was clued into this one by Jack, and it's a cocktail. It's an optic, and she's got a gold rim and rose point incrustation on her in gold. And it's doesn't look like it's ever been used. It's a good thing you can't wear that gold out by looking at it. So anyway, that's my trip for tonight.
And
Oh, well, thank you. I would have been disappointed if none of your ladies had come to join you. So always wonderful to see the pieces that you have. And it is kind of interesting how you see some pieces are so overwhelmingly gold. And then you have some that are just so more,
Yeah.
touched in a little bit of areas with gold to just kind of really offset the shape, such as the cigarette areas and just the
Just
top
enough.
and cigarette holded areas.
Just enough.
Just
And
enough.
It was a great Crown Tuscan too. So I know there's a lot of opinions as to what is a good one, but this is as pink as can be. And you girls look good in pink.
Well, thank you, Lyle. We always appreciate you sharing with us, and keep them coming. That was beautiful pieces too, also with the gold and also with the leaf decoration. Very, very interesting with the enamel as well.
Very bright.
Yes.
And
thank you so much for sharing.
Julie, as far as the nude with the rose point,
Yes.
the story is, and the story comes from a pretty well-known dealer of glass in the West, that there was a set of 12 of each of the various sizes, about 6 different sizes of the nudes, types of the nudes that popped up at a furniture store. So there's an extremely small number, probably only a dozen of each of the sizes of those gold encrusted rose point nudes. So Lyle, you're lucky to have a cocktail. They're pretty hard to find. I hope you don't use it on a regular basis because it's pretty valuable.
just in the juggling act.
Well, thank you for that backstory. It's always interesting to hear where some of these things come from and how many there are of them. So always wonderful. So next we're going to go to David, and then I will have one photo to show from Cynthia.
Thank you, Julie. I'm going to start off with a 3500 Royal Blue cordial. It has the transfer, I guess. I've always called it a silk screen, but I'm not sure where I got that terminology from. But this is the same decoration that Les showed on his Carmen cordial. I'm still not baffled. When you run your finger over the decoration, you cannot even tell it's on the glass. It's that thin. Where enamel decorations, you can feel the enamel on the glass. There's some elevation to it, but I just can't fathom how difficult that was to put on there. For me, it's impossible to do, but someone must have figured out how to do it, because these do show up in Carmen, Royal Blue, Amber, and Crystal that I know of, and there could be more out there. That's the only transfer item that I have. The second item is this 3104 Hawk, and I'm struggling with what Tim was struggling with. I can't see where I'm located any longer. So if you can't see the item, just let me know.
Looks good.
This is a 3104 Light Emerald Hawk with the early grape or vintage grape. Bacchus is also another name for it. Mike Strebler and I took a trip to the Carlisle show a couple years ago, and Ed Sawicki had a grouping of these, and so we made a little trip out there. There's also the decoration on the foot, which kind of enhances the decorate. So yeah, Ed had a grouping of these, and we were excited to bring a few of these home with us. The next item is this amber Portia keyhole vase. The foot is crystal. The vase portion is amber. And I just think this is just pretty cool. Anytime you have a gold encrusted etching on color, it's quite striking. So one of my favorite pieces. And we like our ebony and gold. So this is a flip vase in ebony with the rose point etching on it. And it is unbelievable. And it's surprising to me that we have so much information on the etching process, on how they acid etched the glass, but we don't have much information on the gold encrusting process. We do know that they used a slightly different process to etch the glass before applying the gold, but there is just almost no way that this was applied to the etching freehand. The lines are just too clean. I'm almost thinking of like you would put the gold on and you'd almost have to take like a squeegee and kind of rub the gold off of the unetched glassware just to make those lines so crisp. And the reason I am thinking that on this vase, as beautiful as it is, there's a little mold line. And in that mold line, there is gold. It's just about a half an inch long, but that was what makes me think that when they were wiping the gold to clean up the shape, there may have been excess gold, and that gold fell into that little crease before they actually fired it on here. But it is, whatever the process was, absolutely amazing. And I can't imagine how much effort, time, and went into making such a piece. My last item is a wildflower 3121 candelabra. They did apply wildflower etching to the trebuchet. And the trim on this, it's clearly not a smooth trim, so they couldn't have done this on a turntable. But the precision with which the gold was applied, those people in the decorating department must have had one of the steadiest hands of anybody in the world. It's just amazing how consistent they were with just the exact amount of gold along that edge that it doesn't, if I was doing it, there'd have been at some point I would have breathed or coughed or flinched, and there would be a little air along there, but it is just absolutely incredible. And then, of course, they did a similar gold encrusted etching on the foot. So I just wanted to make one comment. Jim and Janice showed their apple blossom and how when they applied the gold decoration to apple blossom, they didn't apply it to the entire etching. And that's also true for Lorna and Gloria. When they applied the gold encrusting to those two etchings, they only applied it to a certain portion of the etch pattern.
Oh, well, thank you for that information. I wasn't aware of that.
All right, Julie, that's all I have to share this evening.
Well, thank you, David. And obviously some beautiful pieces there. The hawks are outstanding. I mean, that's just a beautiful, beautiful piece along with the others that you showed tonight. So very lovely, very lovely. And now Christine has said that she is here. So I look forward, Christine. I will not show your picture. I think if you have it in person, it's always better to show what you have. So I'm going to let Christine take it away here.
Thank you. And it's Cynthia, actually.
I'm
Thank you,
Cynthia.
Julie.
I'm so sorry, Cynthia.
It's okay.
I have
It
Christine on my
happens.
mind for some reason. Cynthia, my apologies.
Okay. Thank you. So we're going to continue the wildflower theme. My Cambridge journey started with Chantilly that I inherited from my grandmother. I know Julie has a beautiful collection of the Chantilly. And wildflower came on my radar at some point with a non-gold decorated piece. But I found this darling little Gadroon creamer, which needs a friend, part of the reason I'm sharing it. And I now know this is stippled, I believe, around the edge and has just a little bit of gold trim on the foot, but just a darling little piece. That was a thrift store rescue. And then I also found this lovely double keyhole candlestick at a thrift store. Couldn't leave it behind. I'm one of those rescuers, you know. See an orphan, got to bring it home. But I really wish that, you know, maybe someday I could find a pair. And I missed out on a pair of wildflower candlesticks at a recent glass show. I was very disappointed. But the very next day, I went to an estate sale and got a pair with the gold incrustation. And these things look like they're brand new. And because it was the last day of the estate sale, I got them for a real steal, which was just fabulous. Switching over to blossom time, I have this ginormous keyhole vase. I don't know if anyone who has one of these actually uses them. They make me very nervous because it just seems a little tippy. I don't necessarily grow flowers that have long stems like that, but I'm going to try because I think it would be so beautiful to actually use. And then the photo that I had sent, I wasn't sure I'd be able to be here tonight, but at the glass show, I was chatting with a friend about how she had schooled Gene Florence when he was here for the glass show back in like 1990 or whenever it was, that wildflower actually did come in pink because he didn't list the color in the book. And I thought, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be lovely to find some pink wildflower? That was Friday when we were setting up. And the very next day in the booth next to mine, here's this gorgeous pink wildflower perfume. The dauber is broken off, but I frankly don't care because I just love it. It's so pretty. I would love to find it some friends as well. I don't know how difficult these pieces are to find, but it's just one of my favorites. And then at a different estate sale, I was walking by a table that had this vase that was full of the multicolored glass marbles and some really tacky artificial pink flowers. And I bent down to take a look at it and I thought, oh, this looks like a quality piece. I didn't recognize it in the moment, but it is a 783 vase with the Betty border. And I noticed that in the database, it's only shown in amber and green. So I don't know if this is an unusual piece that someone would like a photo of for the database, but you're more than welcome if somebody wants to tell me how to share that. I love adding things to databases, but I'd love to hear more about what the Betty border means, why it's called a Betty border, if anybody knows. And then the last one I wanted to share, this is the opposite end of the spectrum, this little keyhole dish that I actually use like a trinket dish for stuff I swap out of my purse. Almost all of the gold is gone. and I was tempted to maybe remove it. I sort of like the hint of gold that's still left, but I don't know if this one was originally stippled or if it was just, you know, a nice straight rim that is so damaged now there's hardly anything left. So those are my pieces. Thanks.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm so glad you could join us tonight. So does anybody have an answer for the Betty border? No?
I can chime in. I guess I hadn't put this on. Yeah, here I go. That the main part of the etching on the base is chrysanthemum.
Yes.
And then when they added that border to the top, they called it Betty. So that's really all there is to it. It's a chrysanthemum etching with the addition of the border at the top. So, yeah.
And Betty just because?
I don't know where they came up with that name.
Okay.
I mean, maybe it was somebody's cousin there. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, but that was done early, so that was a very early piece. So, and then the answer to your question about the little relish there on the last, that was a 3400 two-part relish there, and that would have been gold edge, straight edge, 3400 line. It was all nice, straight, even edge there. So,
okay, so somebody just abused the poor thing.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Cynthia. And I love how you put it. You have a few orphans that need a brother and sister. And this is the right venue to ask for that because we have several people that are always on the hunt. But I'm like you, I always like pop up at the estate sale or I pop up on someplace else. And if I'm at, I find it at Goodwill. I find it at Habitat for Humanity. I find Cambridge glass in a lot of different places. And I think it's well loved in some cases like yours is. Others not so well loved and it looks wonderful, but it's always nice to find a little orphan that we can bring home. And sometimes then your orphan needs a mate. So thank you so much for sharing. We're glad you joined us tonight. And so with that, did I miss anyone that would like to show glass? No takers? Okay, I'm going to, Greg, how are you?
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Well, I got to thinking about all this talk about gold encrusted blossom time, and I have one item in that, and I agree. It is an etching that really lends itself to great beauty when you add gold to it. So I have this blown candy box that's very delicate, and it's really pretty because all the gold, the gold on the etching goes all the way down underneath until you reach the stem, and it's just got a lot of gold on it. I think I bought this out of Squeak and Dorothy's booth, maybe my first or maybe my second convention, and I really liked it. But I'm careful not to sneeze around it because it's very it's like it could break very easily. And I wanted to show a little bit of my one of my very early favorite attractions of Cambridge glass, which was daffodil. And correct me if I'm wrong, but like the last three etchings, major etchings, I would guess, call them, in the original Cambridge factory were Rosalind that came out some like 49 or 50, I think, and then Daffodil in 51, and then Magnolia in 52 or maybe early 53. Of those, I've never seen any gold maybe gold decorated, but never any gold encrusted Rosalind. And it was a pretty big line. Daffodil, yes. Magnolia, no. And I haven't seen any stemware in daffodil, but the utility, the serving pieces and candlesticks and bowls and daffodil, there's quite a bit of gold decorated daffodil. They gold decorated quite a few items they made available. This is the pristine, what people call the tuck handled bowl. And it's really pretty. It's got the gold incrustation and the gold trim around the edge, and then another little gold line right around the base. And here's my other my other, I don't have a lot. They, like I said, they made, oh, I don't know, a dozen, 15 or 16 pieces maybe in gold encrusted daffodil. And it's really pretty. And I thought, why didn't they gold encrust those other at Rosalind, which is basically a rose flower, and magnolia. But I thought, well, there's no yellow or gold magnolias that I know of, and most roses are red, but there's some yellow. But I thought, well, daffodil is a yellow flower, so maybe they decided to do a lot of gold daffodil just because it matched the color of the flower. That's just my guess. But anyway, it's a really pretty. It looks really good on that etching, I think. That's it. Thank you.
Yes, it does look excellent on that etching. I kind of like daffodil is one of my patterns I don't collect, but I love the look of it. And I just find it's a beautiful, beautiful pattern. And with the gold, it's really, really nice. But again, coming back to your blossom time, that blown candy is sensational. It's just a beautiful piece. And again, something that, we see Rose Point, we see Elaine, we see Portia, and all of these in gold. But we don't often see blossom time. It's again, I don't think it's a lot of collectors collect it. It's not what I've seen. I know people have like a piece here and a piece there, but not sets of blossom time. So I find that really interesting. And again, the daffodil's gorgeous. But I find it interesting that for coming out so late, it's on an early pattern of pristine, kind of like Chantilly's on like 8 different lines, and it's wide. But it seems like if it came out in that late, it wouldn't be on a pristine piece for some reason.
And they didn't have a daffodil dinner plate. They had I think a salad plate and a bread plate on 3400, or no, plainware line. So it came out in the 50s, but they went all the way back to the 1920s, really, to when they wanted to have a plate in that. Yeah.
Yeah. It always seems very odd to me that all of a sudden they would just, hey, let's use this again.
Yeah.
Let's use something different. But thank you for sharing. Very, very much appreciated. So with that, do we have anybody else that would like to share tonight? I love it when people just say, hey, I've got something. Hearing none, we're going to turn it back to David.
Julie, can I chime in quick?
Yes, you may.
Okay, so I'd like to congratulate the group. I think we made progress on terminology, moving to etching and etchings, plural, rather than etch and etches. And actually, that comment is kind of in tribute to my good friend Dave Rankin, who passed away just before the convention last year. And boy, he was a stickler on that. It's not etch or etches, it's etching and etchings. So I was just thinking of Dave Rankin on that. And like I said, I think we made good progress. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, David, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Julie. And first of all, thank you to everyone that shared items out of their collection this evening. My favorite portion of the evening is always seeing the different items that people share. It's amazing what people have found in their neck of the woods. And I'm sure Jim and Janice are scarfing up all that Carmen gold encrusted Rose Point while they're in California. They'll probably have a U-Haul van full of it by now. So bring it on back east and we'll all take a look at it. In closing tonight, Norman Woodson is going to be our presenter on vinegars and oils and cruets at our next program. And it is a slightly different day. It's going to be the first Tuesday of May. The Houston Glass Club has their monthly club meeting on the second Tuesday. So I know Norman has joined us in the past, but unfortunately, now that we're on a consistent second Tuesday programming, he is unable to do that. So sometimes it's amazing how there's 30 days in a month and we still have overlap with other glass groups and other events that are going on around the country. So Norma will be presenting on vinegar and oils and cruets at our next program. So go ahead and check out your display cases and see if you can share a few of those items with us after Norman leads his program. Then the following month, Jack is going to be doing a program on candy boxes and incorporating with that candy containers. So you can also get ready and look in your cases and prepare for those. I'm sure candy boxes are going to be a hit. Cambridge, I think, specialized in candy boxes. They really went out of their way and made a nice variety of those. So that'll be a really cool program as well. So thank you so much for everyone joining us this evening. And I look forward to seeing all of you next month.
Well, thank you, David. And I want to reiterate, we love seeing everybody's class. It's so nice to see everyone's collections. We know you can't always be at Cambridge, but to me, this is even better